The father holds a camera, ready to record the birth of his child. But the moment the baby is born, the nurse assisting with the delivery freezes in shock. The father, who was filming just seconds ago, is stunned too. Another nurse quickly takes the baby and rushes out to find a doctor. Only the mother has no idea what has happened. Still lying on the delivery bed, she tells her husband that no matter what, he must stay with their child. Over the next 10 years, doctors perform 27 surgeries on the boy. Only after all those operations can he breathe normally and live without the medical equipment that once surrounded his childhood. His name is Auggie Pullman, but everyone calls him Auggie. At 10 years old, Auggie looks like any other child from a distance, but every day he insists on wearing an astronaut helmet. Under that helmet are not only the scars left by surgery, but also a fragile heart full of fear and insecurity. Auggie was born with a rare craniofacial condition, and it has shaped his entire life. His family has done everything they can to help him become the boy he is today. They have given him all the love they have. His mother, Isabel, has also taught him at home for years. Everything Auggie knows, from school subjects to the way he sees the world, comes from her careful teaching. But now, homeschooling is no longer enough. Isabel knows that learning facts is not the only thing Auggie needs. He also needs to learn how to speak with others, how to face people, and how to live in the world outside their home. So after thinking about it for a long time, she decides to send him to school. But Auggie is terrified of the outside world. Before the school year begins, Isabel takes him to visit Beecher Prep. The principal, Mr. Tushman, is kind and funny. He tells Auggie that the school holds a science fair in the spring, and that before graduation, the 5th graders go on a class trip. Hearing this, Auggie finally seems a little interested. Then a few students pass by the office. Mr. Tushman wants Auggie to meet some kids before the first day of school. Maybe that will help him adjust. But the moment comes too quickly, and Auggie suddenly becomes nervous. For him, dealing with children has always been harder than dealing with adults. Adults can hide their reactions. Kids often cannot. They stare, ask direct questions, and hurt people without knowing how deep the wound goes. Whenever that happens, Auggie lowers his head and looks at people's shoes. He believes you can learn a lot about someone from the shoes they wear. Jack Will's shoes are old and second-hand, which makes him seem quiet and ordinary. Julian's shoes look expensive, just like his attitude, proud and superior. And Charlotte looks bright, talkative, and a little scattered from head to toe. The three of them reluctantly show Auggie around the school. Charlotte talks the whole way, mostly about herself. Jack says very little. Julian acts like he owns the place, introducing the school while slipping in little insults toward Auggie. It is obvious that he looks down on the boy with the unusual face. In the science room, Julian pretends to explain what an eraser is. Then he deliberately asks about Auggie's scars, wondering if his face was burned or hit in an accident. The other two kids cannot stand it and speak up for Auggie. And Auggie, who has stayed quiet the whole time, finally pushes back. He says he knows what an eraser is. His face was not caused by an accident. He was born this way. And Julian just misused a word twice. If he needs help with schoolwork, Auggie says, maybe his mother can teach him too. Then Auggie walks away, leaving Julian embarrassed. That night, Auggie is quiet and unhappy. Isabel knows this is something he has to go through. She tells him that Julian was wrong, but that Auggie should still try to be the bigger person. His father, Nate, gives him a different kind of advice in secret. If someone bullies you, fight back. Do not be afraid of anyone. Of course, Nate's advice is not very convincing because he is clearly afraid of Isabel himself. Isabel respects Auggie's choice. If he does not want to go to school, she will not force him. But to everyone's surprise, Auggie says he will go. He is interested in science, and he says he needs a better science teacher. Isabel thinks that is a little unfair to her. Via, Auggie's older sister, hears it and starts laughing. Nate refuses to let anyone insult Isabel's teaching, and just like that, the family begins teasing and playing together. Auggie was born into pain, but he is also lucky to live in a home filled with love. On the first day of school, the sun is bright. The whole family comes to send Auggie off. Before they separate, Nate tells him to remember two things. First, raise your hand once in every class, even if you know all the answers, except in science class. Second, you may feel alone, but remember that we are always with you. Then Nate gently takes off Auggie's helmet. Auggie finally takes his first real step into the world. After walking only a short distance, he turns back again. He is still afraid. Nate encourages him one more time. Around Auggie, strange looks are everywhere, but his small figure keeps walking forward. The world is not perfect. Augie's face will always make him a focus of attention. At that moment, he feels like an island surrounded by dark waves of judgment. Then he remembers something Isabel once told him. If you do not like where you are, imagine where you want to be. In his mind, Auggie becomes the astronaut he has always dreamed of being. The staring faces around him turn into an audience cheering for him. With that thought, Auggie enters the classroom. The students, who were laughing and talking a second ago, instantly fall silent. Auggie tries to sit in an empty seat, but a boy behind him warns him not to sit in front of him. So Auggie sits alone off to the side. Charlotte and Jack both greet him kindly. Julian, meanwhile, arrives late and lies to the teacher, saying he was delayed because he was helping the school. He is already skilled at pretending to be polite when adults are watching. Their teacher, Mr. Brown, asks each student to share 2 things about themselves. When Auggie talks about his love for Star Wars, Julian finds another chance to mock him. Because Auggie used to wear a braid like one of the characters, Julian brings up an ugly-looking villain from the series, using it to insult Augie's appearance. Mr. Brown stops the conversation and asks a student to read the precept on the board. It says that when given the choice between being right and being kind, choose kind. At lunch, Julian comes over to sit with Auggie. For a moment, Auggie is happy that someone wants to eat with him, but Julian only came to hurt him again. He says Auggie eats like a monster, then walks away satisfied. In gym class, Julian pretends he wants to play with Auggie, but really he and the others throw balls at him for fun. After school, Julian becomes even more cruel. He mocks Augie's braid and chases him, calling him disgusting and ugly. The words cut deep. When Auggie sees Isabel waiting with a smile, he says nothing. He grabs his helmet and hides himself again. When he gets home, he cuts off the braid. At dinner, he stays silent. The whole house grows heavy with sadness. Isabel wants to know what happened at school, but Auggie refuses to talk and storms away from the table. She follows him to his room and calmly removes the helmet. Underneath, Auggie is breaking down. He asks why he has to be so ugly. Does appearance really matter that much? Isabel tells him firmly that he is not ugly. People who truly want to be his friends will understand that. She says every face has marks, just like the wrinkles on her own face. Those marks are not ugly. They tell the story of what a person has lived through. The map of a face shows where someone has been. The map of the heart shows where someone is going. Nate, who has been listening outside, comes in too. Together, Augie's parents hold him with love and help him breathe again. Via sees everything from the hallway. When she realizes the family is all right again, she smiles softly. Ever since Auggie was born, Via has become the most understanding person in the family. She loves her brother, so she accepts all the attention he receives. In their home, Auggie is like the sun. Isabel, Nate, and Via are the planets orbiting around him. Before Auggie was born, Isabel was only 1 paper away from completing her degree, but she paused her entire life for him. Via understands that the family cannot handle any more pressure, so she never asks Isabel to help with homework. She never needs Nate to remind her about exams. She works hard and tries not to become anyone's burden, but sometimes she still wishes her parents could save a little more love for her. Luckily, Via has a best friend, Miranda. Other than her late grandmother, Miranda is the only person who truly understands how lonely Via can feel. But after returning from summer camp, Miranda suddenly changes. She makes new friends, and she does not reply to any of Via's messages. Via starts wondering if she did something wrong. Feeling abandoned, she cannot even eat lunch. Then, while she is standing alone at school, a boy named Justin walks into her life. Justin is warm, cheerful, and kind. He introduces himself and talks about his interests with genuine enthusiasm. For Via, who has just lost the only friend who understood her, meeting someone new feels surprisingly good. The next day, Justin invites Via to join the drama club. There, she runs into Miranda. The 2 girls who were once inseparable now feel awkward around each other. Miranda asks why Via is there. Via answers with the same kind of distant words Miranda once gave her. In that moment, Via decides she also needs to change. Meanwhile, Auggie slowly adapts to school. He still has no real friends, but science class gives him joy. He performs extremely well, answering questions other children do not know and finishing tests early. When he sees Jack struggling with a question, Auggie quietly shares his answer. It may not be the right thing to do, but it helps him make his first real friend. At lunch, Jack sits with Auggie. When Auggie says he eats in a disgusting way, Jack presses his own face into his sandwich to prove he can look even worse. For the first time, Auggie laughs in the cafeteria. After school, Auggie invites Jack to his house. When Isabel sees that her son has made a friend, she is so emotional she almost cries. From then on, Jack and Auggie grow closer. They eat together, play video games, and joke around. Auggie becomes more open. Even when Jack asks about the face that makes him insecure, Auggie can answer with humor. As the semester continues, the drama club prepares for its performance. Justin encourages Via to audition for the lead role. He says she can invite her family to come cheer for her. Via says her family is very busy and they may not show up. Justin tells her that he can cheer for her instead. His kindness reminds Via of her grandmother. She goes back to Coney Island and sits there for a long time. Via has always been the child who understands too much and asks for too little. Only her grandmother ever gave her love that was truly just for her. That night, Isabel asks where she went. Via says she went to Coney Island. Isabel realizes her daughter misses her grandmother and also realizes she has been ignoring Via's feelings. So she tells Via not to go to school on Halloween. They can spend the long weekend together at home. Via finally has time alone with her mother, and for a while, she forgets all the hurt. Halloween is Auggie's favorite holiday. On that day, everyone wears a costume. For once, he is not the only one who looks different. Wearing a ghost face mask, Auggie walks through school confidently. But when he reaches the classroom door, he stops. His only friend, Jack, is standing with Julian. Julian asks why Jack spends so much time with Auggie. Jack looks around, then says carefully that the principal asked him to be nice to Auggie. He says he never expected Auggie to follow him around all the time. Then he jokes that if he looked like Auggie, he would kill himself. Auggie hears every word. The confidence he had just built is crushed in an instant. At home, Via and Isabel are having a rare, warm conversation. Isabel notices that Via and Miranda are no longer close, and Via explains what happened. Isabel says she once had a friendship problem too, and her solution was to eat an entire jar of candy. They are laughing together when a call from school interrupts them. Auggie has been hurt so badly by Jack's words that he is vomiting at school. In 1 second, Auggie becomes the center of Isabel's world again. Via is used to it, but she still throws the remote in anger. She wants to have more of her parents' love too. Back home, Auggie is silent and depressed. He looks for his helmet, but Isabel does not know where it is. Via is ready to go to bed, but when she hears Auggie say he never wants to go trick-or-treating again and only wants to stay in his room, she smiles softly. Maybe she gets less attention, but someone else needs it more. Via changes into an awkward costume and goes to cheer up her brother. After learning what happened, she tells Auggie about Miranda pulling away from her. Then she says school is awful and people change. If you want to be a normal kid, you have to accept that rule. With Via's comfort, Auggie finally feels better. The two siblings go out together and collect Halloween candy, just like they used to. After the holiday, Via decides to audition for the lead role in the school play. Isabel also begins working on the final paper for her degree. Auggie returns to school, but he refuses to speak to Jack. Jack has no idea why Auggie is suddenly ignoring him. The truth is that Jack did not mean what he said on Halloween. At first, he was friendly because the principal and his mother asked him to be. But after spending time with Auggie, he realized Auggie is smart, funny, and genuinely fun to be around. He really wants to be Auggie's friend, but in front of Julian, he lied because he wanted to fit in. Now Auggie has decided to shut him out. Whenever Jack tries to talk, Auggie turns away. Seeing that Auggie and Jack have fallen out, some classmates gossip. One of them cruelly says Auggie must have infected Jack with the plague. A girl named Summer hears this and cannot stand it. She walks over and sits across from Auggie, wanting to become his friend. Auggie first thinks she must have been sent by the principal too, but Summer explains herself sincerely, and Auggie finally trusts her. The two become close friends. Auggie also tells Summer why he suddenly stopped talking to Jack. At the drama club, the cast list is posted. Miranda gets the lead role, while Via is only named as the understudy. Justin comforts Via and tells her to practice the scene on page 110 where they kiss. Via quickly opens the script, but there is no page 110. It was just Justin's playful way of confessing his feelings. Via accepts this unusual confession. Later, she brings Justin home to meet Isabel and Auggie. She worries Justin might judge Auggie, but thankfully he does not. Instead, he talks and laughs with him right away. Auggie even teases them about their relationship. The next day, Miranda sees Via's new boyfriend and feels a sudden sadness. Back home, she calls Auggie. Even though they have not talked for a long time, their bond is still close. Miranda says she misses him. She also asks him to tell Via that she misses her too. Auggie asks why she does not tell Via herself. Miranda does not answer and quickly ends the call. Christmas is approaching, and Miranda is alone, staring at a version of herself she barely recognizes. She takes off the fake nose ring. There is a reason she has become this way. To Miranda, Auggie's family is like a second home she cannot let go of. She grew up with Via, and Auggie feels like her own little brother. The astronaut helmet Auggie loved so much was a gift from Miranda, but Miranda's own parents recently divorced, and her mother spends her days drinking through the pain. To escape that suffocating home, Miranda took a job at summer camp. There, she told other people the story of Via's family as if it were her own. The brother with the unusual face made everyone curious, and Miranda became one of the most popular girls at camp. Vanity blinded her. To keep her lie from being exposed, she chose to stay away from Via. But the reason she pretended to be Via was simple. She has always wanted a family full of love. Almost every Christmas, Miranda used to spend the night at Via's house. Now she can only stand outside and imagine herself inside with them. She once told Auggie that the outside world was more exciting. Now Auggie has stepped into that world, while Miranda is the one lost in confusion. She knows she made a mistake, but she does not know how to fix it. After Christmas, the new year arrives. Via's life becomes fuller with Justin by her side. Isabel continues working on her thesis, but Auggie still has not forgiven Jack. Summer tells him he cannot avoid Jack forever. He should talk to him face to face, but Auggie is still too hurt and afraid to face the friend who betrayed him. After school starts again, Jack finally cannot take it anymore. He asks Summer why Auggie is angry. Summer promised Auggie she would keep the secret, so she does not explain directly. Instead, she gives Jack one clue: Ghostface. At first, Jack does not understand. Then, during science class, it suddenly hits him. The person standing outside the classroom on Halloween was Auggie. Looking at Auggie beside him, Jack is filled with guilt. That day, Mr. Brown announces a science fair. Since Jack and Auggie sit together, they are automatically paired as a team. Julian says he wants to work with Jack, clearly trying to isolate Auggie. But before the teacher can even respond, Jack refuses. This time, he chooses Auggie firmly. Julian is furious. He asks why Jack would choose that freak. Hearing him attack Auggie again, Jack loses control and punches Julian. This time, he is defending his friendship. Prejudice is like a mountain in the heart. With every punch, Jack seems to be trying to knock down that unreasonable hatred. Afterward, Jack writes an apology letter to Mr. Tushman. He says he should not have hit anyone, and he is willing to accept the consequences. But he does not explain the reason, because that would get Julian in trouble. Even without Jack saying it, Mr. Tushman understands the truth. He only suspends Jack for 2 days, and reminds him to pick up his scholarship letter on time. Auggie learns why Jack fought. He also understands that a real friend is very hard to find. So he starts chatting with Jack during a video game. Jack admits he was wrong. Just like that, the two boys finally make peace. They also promise to beat Julian at the science fair. Meanwhile, the drama club performance is coming. Isabel wants to see Via perform, but Via resists because she is only an understudy and may not even go on stage. Mother and daughter argue. In the end, the whole family still comes to the theater. When Miranda sees Via's family in the audience, she suddenly realizes how she can make things right. She finds the teacher and says she is too sick to perform. Then she gives up the lead role so Via can take the stage. Miranda helps Via get ready as naturally as if nothing ever changed between them. And Via does not disappoint anyone. She gives a beautiful performance. Watching Via shine on stage, Isabel remembers Via's 4th birthday. Back then, Via's wish was to have a little brother. But after that brother was born, she slowly lost much of her parents' attention. When the performance ends, the audience erupts in applause. Miranda is also sincerely happy for Via. Backstage, Nate praises Via again and again. Isabel holds her daughter tightly. In that moment, every apology turns into love. One hug is enough to melt all the walls between them. Miranda and Via finally become friends again. Auggie and Jack's science project also wins wins first place. Julian's volcano model not only fails to win anything, it becomes a joke. After that, Auggie becomes more and more popular at school. The table where he once sat alone is now full of laughter. Julian cannot accept this. He begins leaving cruel notes for Auggie, openly showing a class photo with Auggie erased from it. On the back, he writes a message telling Auggie to die. The teachers and students can no longer ignore it, and they report the bullying to Mr. Tushman. Mr. Tushman takes the issue seriously. He calls Julian's parents in, hoping they will teach their son better. But their attitude is even more arrogant than Julian's. They say that someone who looks like Auggie should not be allowed to scare other children. Only then does Mr. Tushman understand that Julian's cruelty comes from his parents. He suspends Julian for 2 days. Julian's parents threaten him, saying they have donated to the school and no members of the board. Mr. Tushman only smiles and says he knows more people. In other words, he will not bow to their power. Julian's parents angrily decide to transfer him. Julian does not want to leave the school, but in front of his parents, he has no voice. Before leaving, he sincerely apologizes to Mr. Tushman. Maybe from that moment on, Julian begins to see things differently. Before graduation, the school holds a nature retreat. Now that Auggie has friends, he is so excited to go that he barely remembers to look back at his parents. At the retreat, he plays freely with the other kids. The boy who once hid from the world can finally stand confidently among his classmates. With the children away, Isabel and Nate enjoy rare time alone. Isabel asks Nate to close his eyes. Her surprise is the final paper for her degree, finally finished after all these years. During the retreat, while everyone is watching a movie, Auggie and Jack sneak outside to enjoy the freedom of the woods. But several older students suddenly appear behind them. They insult Auggie again and again. Jack tries to defend him but is pushed down and hits his head. Auggie steps forward to protect Jack and is pushed down too. At the critical moment, the classmates who once bullied Auggie rush in to help. After the fight, Augie's arm is only lightly hurt, but his courage wins him even more friends. Seeing the kind smiles around him, Auggie suddenly feels overwhelmed. He walks to the river, his eyes filling with tears. Mountains rise in the distance, and the water moves quietly before him. For this one moment, Auggie has endured so much pain. Soon, graduation day arrives. Auggie puts on a handsome suit. Nate looks at his son with pride. Auggie complains that he still cannot find his helmet. Only then does Nate admit the truth. He hid it. He wanted Auggie to stop depending on the helmet and face life bravely as himself. At the graduation ceremony, Auggie thanks Isabel for making him go to school. He admits that he once hated her for it, but now he knows she was right. Isabel tells him proudly that he really is a wonder, because without Augie's own effort, none of this would have happened. Then Mr. Tushman begins his speech. Every year, the school gives a special award to a student who shows outstanding kindness and character. This year is different. He gives the award to Auggie. Because Augie's character has influenced the people around him and helped them move in a better direction. That, Mr. Tushman says, is another form of helping others. Auggie never imagined he would win, but everyone in the audience cheers for him. Even Julian, standing quietly in the background, claps for him. As Auggie walks onto the stage, he feels like he is about to fly. His heart races in a way he has never felt before. Mr. Tushman places the medal around his neck. All the smiling faces in front of him seem to bloom gently. Auggie thinks maybe he received the award because he is not ordinary. But if we could know what every person is thinking, we would understand that no one is ordinary. Just like Mr. Brown's final precept says, be kind, because everyone is fighting a hard battle. If you really want to understand someone, all you have to do is look with your heart. Wonder was released in 2017 and directed by Stephen Chbosky. It tells the story of Auggie Pullman, a boy born with facial differences who is homeschooled for years before entering a mainstream school in 5th grade. At first, Auggie is mocked and bullied because of the way he looks. But with the love of his family, the guidance of his teachers, and the friendship of people who choose kindness, he slowly overcomes his fear and finds confidence. What makes Auggie a wonder is not that life becomes easy for him. It is that he draws out the kindness in the people around him, then gives that kindness back with courage of his own. True strength is not always about fighting the world. Sometimes it is about accepting what has happened, accepting who we are, and still choosing to keep moving forward. Life will never satisfy us in every way. Everyone is fighting their own private battle. But when we learn to accept our differences, forgive others' distance, and look at people with more tenderness, we also change the way the world feels around us. That's all for today's movie recap. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like, comment, and share. I'll see you in the next one.